This happened about a year ago. I had just turned 17. I had been driving my parents' old silver sedan for a few months. I live in a pretty quiet area. Not exactly rural, but not suburban either. It's the kind of place where you've got small towns scattered between long stretches of farmland, woods, and narrow two-lane roads that barely get any traffic after dark. One night, I was driving home from my cousin's place. I'd gone over for dinner, and we ended up watching a movie afterward, so I stayed a little later than I planned. By the time I got in the car, it was close to midnight. The sky was pitch black, no moon that night. Just the sound of crickets and the occasional hum of a late-night truck passing in the distance. Normally, I'd take the highway back. It's well lit and a bit longer, but I wasn't really in the mood for a boring drive, so I decided to take the back roads instead. It's a little faster, and honestly, I just like the peace and quiet. There's one road in particular that I always thought was kind of creepy. It cuts through a dense patch of woods and crosses this old train overpass. The tracks underneath haven't been used in decades. Locals tell stories about it. They say the place is haunted, but that's just local rumors, nothing I ever believed. I was about halfway across the overpass when I saw someone standing in the middle of the road. A man was standing, right in the center, just facing away from me. At first, I thought maybe his car broke down and he was waiting for help, but there was no car, no bike. Nothing around except trees and darkness. I slowed down and tapped my horn, but he didn't move. I flashed my high beams. That's when I realized he wasn't wearing anything normal. It looked like a hospital gown. I was maybe 20 feet away when he suddenly turned around and started running towards me. In the glow of my headlights, I saw in his right hand he was holding a machete. My hands were shaking on the wheel. Every part of me was screaming to back up. I shifted into reverse and started to back away, not even taking my eyes off the figure. When I reached the highway, I didn't see the figure behind me. When I got home, I woke my dad up and told him what happened. He called the police, but the man was never identified. I'll never know what that man was trying to do. I just fear that someone else might have taken that road home after me and not have been as lucky as I was. I worked at a 24-hour diner that sat on the outskirts of town. Mostly truckers came through, but once in a while, we'd get random delivery orders at weird hours. We didn't have actual delivery drivers. The owner just told whoever wasn't busy in the kitchen to go drop it off. I was working register that night, so I got stuck with it. It was just a burger, fries, and a milkshake. Somebody ordered it to a cabin-style house off Highway 9. It was about a 20-minute drive from the diner. That's longer than most places would accept for a single item. But our boss never turned anything down, even if it meant sending us halfway to the mountains. Highway 9 was mostly surrounded by dense woods and farmland. No streetlights, just a long, winding road with trees pushing up close on both sides. After a while, my eyes started to adjust to the dark. That's when I saw it. At first, it looked like a branch or some garbage in the road. But as I got closer, I realized it was just a regular wooden chair, right in the middle of my lane. I slowed down as I passed. I caught a glimpse of something else in my headlights. Just off to the side of the road, behind a tree. It was a person. They were standing completely still. I barely saw their face. I kept going, glancing at the rearview mirror, but there was nothing, just darkness. After a couple minutes, I figured maybe they were just some weirdo, or maybe someone messing around. The chair thing was creepy, but people do dumb stuff. I got to the house, parked, and brought the bag of food up to the door. The place was weird. The lights were off inside, but the porch light was on. I knocked, and a guy opened it, just a crack. Looked like he was in his early 30s. He barely looked at me when he took the food, handed me some cash, and mumbled, "Thanks." I said, "Have a good night," and started heading back to my car. That's when I saw it, That same chair. It was on the edge of the driveway, facing the woods. That wasn't there when I pulled in. I froze for a second, then picked up the pace and got in my car. I sat there for a moment, trying to decide if I should say something to the guy who lived there, but I didn't know how to bring it up without sounding crazy. So, I backed out and got back to the highway. About 2 minutes into the drive, I saw headlights behind me. It was a dark color, couldn't tell the model. No high beams, just tailing me from a distance. I didn't know if they were trying to warn me or mess with me. Either way, I didn't like it. I looked ahead and remembered there was a ranger station pull-off about 5 minutes further. If I could get there, I could stop and figure out what to do. But just as I was thinking that, the car behind me pulled into the oncoming lane and started speeding up. It was trying to pass. I gripped the wheel and stayed steady, not speeding up anymore, not slowing down either. But as it pulled up beside me, the driver rolled the window down. I glanced over. It was a woman. She was staring directly at me. I looked back at the road and slammed the gas. The car behind me stayed in the oncoming lane for a few seconds, then drifted back behind me and fell out of view. I reached the ranger station. There were no cars in the lot, but the lights were on in the building. I bolted to the door and knocked like crazy. A ranger opened up, confused and still zipping up his jacket. I told him someone was following me, that I'd seen them try to run me off the road. He asked what kind of car. I started to answer, but then I realized I didn't know. I never saw the full car, just the woman's face. I felt stupid. I couldn't describe the car, couldn't even give him a plate number. He offered to radio in a patrol car just to be safe, but I said I'd be okay heading back now that someone knew where I was. I waited a few more minutes, then got back in my car and started the return trip. But as I pulled out onto the road again, my headlights caught something on the side. That same chair. I didn't even slow down. I made it back to the diner after 3 a.m. I didn't tell anyone. I just said traffic took longer than expected. The next night, I stayed home, watched a movie, tried not to think about what happened. I haven't done a night delivery since. I told my manager my car wasn't reliable anymore. I don't know who was behind it. I don't know what the woman in that car was, and what the chairs mean. I drive across the state for work. It was a last-minute thing. Pick up some documents, meet a client, drive back the same day. I left around noon and expected to be back home before midnight. The drive there was fine. On the way back, I decided to take a different route. My GPS showed a smaller highway that cut through some rural towns, saving me about 30 minutes. It looked straightforward enough, so I took it. At first, the road was normal. 2-lane highway, a few scattered houses here and there, lots of flat open land. But after an hour or so, the scenery changed. Fewer buildings, more trees, no streetlights. The sun had already set, and by 9 p.m., I hadn't seen another car in almost 45 minutes. The road started to feel like it was just going on forever. I started feeling uneasy. My GPS hadn't updated in a while, which was weird. It still showed I was on the right road, but the blue arrow had stopped moving. I figured it was a signal issue, so I kept going. A few more minutes passed, and I noticed something strange. I was pretty sure I had passed the same billboard twice. It was an old one, torn, rusted, advertising some ice cream place. The first time I saw it, I remembered thinking how faded it looked. But now, I was seeing it again. I thought maybe I was mistaken. A lot of signs look alike in the dark, but then I saw the same broken-down pickup truck on the side of the road. Same dent in the door, same shredded back tire. I was sure of it, and it was in the exact same spot. That's when I slowed down. I stared at the GPS again, still frozen. The arrow hadn't moved, but the time kept ticking forward. It now said I'd reach my destination in 18 minutes, but the map wasn't updating. I kept driving, trying to shake the weird feeling, but then something else happened. I saw a gas station up ahead. There weren't any other cars, but the place looked open. I figured I'd stop, stretch my legs, maybe ask someone if I was even on the right road. I pulled in slowly, parked by the pump. No movement inside the building, but the lights were on. I got out, walked to the door, and tried to open it, but it was locked tight. I cupped my hands against the glass and looked inside. There was a man standing behind the counter. He wasn't moving, just standing there perfectly still, staring straight ahead. It almost looked like a mannequin at first. That's how still he was. Then, I knocked on the glass, but he still didn't look at me. I backed away, got back in my car, and left the station behind. A few minutes later, I passed the same billboard again, then the same truck, and then the gas station. Same flickering sign, same empty lot. I didn't stop that time. I just kept driving. The GPS still wasn't moving. I turned it off and reopened it. Still stuck. Now it said I was 10 minutes away. That made no sense. I had been driving in a straight line for over an hour. I hadn't turned once. And somehow I was still almost there. I looked at the odometer. I'd driven 43 miles since turning onto this road, but I didn't feel any closer to anything. I started thinking maybe I'd taken a wrong turn without noticing. Maybe I passed a split and the GPS bugged out. So I turned the car around. About 20 minutes into the drive back, I saw headlights behind me. Finally, another car. I slowed a little, hoping they'd pass and I could maybe follow them out of this area. But they didn't pass. They stayed far behind me. Not close enough to make out the car, just far enough that I couldn't get a good look. They followed me like that for several miles. Then they turned off their headlights. I kept checking my mirrors. They were still there. Just faintly visible now, but I could see the shape in the moonlight. I kept driving until finally I saw something new, a bridge. It wasn't on the way in. I would have remembered it. But now it was there, cutting over a shallow river. A rusted green metal frame. I drove over the bridge. As soon as I crossed it, I checked the mirror again. The car was gone. My GPS reset. Now it showed I was 2 towns over from where I should have been, but at least I was on a real map again. I drove straight home and didn't stop. I've looked online since then, tried to find anything about that town, that bridge. As far as I can tell, it doesn't exist.